Welcome back from the break. I'm Roby Brock. We are joined now by Tamika Edwards. She is a Talk Business and Politics contributor. She also works for Arkansas Advocates for Children and Families, which does some legendary work in Arkansas. Good to have you.
Glad to be here.
Happy
as
New
always.
Year.
Thank
I haven't
you.
seen you in the new year yet.
I know.
All right, let's start first with what's happening at the federal level. Congress this whole past week seems to be doing all it can to avert a government shutdown. It is not the first time we have seen a possible government shutdown. You've worked in a Senate office before. Why does it have to be as complicated as it has?
Politics. I mean, it's just, oftentimes I try not to think of it as one party just trying to get its way, but that's what it seems like. And so they just simply cannot agree on the best deal. And when that happens, we move toward a shutdown. And as you know, 2013 was our most recent shutdown. And the essential individuals will still receive pay and the government will move on, but those non-essential folks will not. And so hopefully everything will work out. I'm looking forward to everything working out, but it's politics.
There's a Senate rule that requires 60 votes to consider these budget matters here, and so when you don't have 60 votes in your political party, it's not the simple majority that's in the House.
Correct.
My argument to both Republicans and Democrats, because whoever is in charge, do enough to compromise enough to get the 60 votes that you need. That's why the rule is there, so that there is more consensus than just one party, Republican or Democrats, way of thinking on these things. Am I off base on this?
No, you are completely on base, but I think it also requires the electorate to make sure that they contact their legislator and express how important it is to maintain the government and ensure that it's not being shut down, and ensure that this bickering does not continue, because really our children are seeing this. And what are we teaching our children when we cannot compromise? And compromise is not a dirty word, although it has become one in recent years. It is not a dirty word, and it's the way that our government runs.
There's a lot of things I don't want my kids knowing about politics these days, but we will not
here.
go there.
So, I agree.
All right, you've written a column for us in our magazine that will be coming out the tail end of this next week, our Talk Business and Politics State of the State address. You have some things that you're watching for.
Yes.
One of the things that you're watching for is how tax cuts affect a variety of different things. Obviously, there'll be some short-term stimulus, potentially some long-term stimulus, but there is also, when you're impairing some of that revenue in the short term, and you are talking about beefing up the spending in military, you got to cut something from somewhere. What are you worried about?
We are worried about seeing those cuts in SNAP. The supplemental nutrition program, assistance program, that helps many families in Arkansas. And so we know that there have also been talks from congressional leaders that they want to have welfare reform and they want to scale back on many of these entitlement programs. And so we are concerned that individuals in Arkansas who receive these benefits would suffer the most, because those are federal funds coming into the state.
And when I hear from, I've interviewed Congressman Westerman earlier in the program. We had Congressman Womack on last week. They won't tell you that Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security are going to be cut, but they will say that they need to be reformed.
Exactly.
And that is either cuts or slowing down spending growth, one of the two things.
Right, and so we know even with our household budgets, when something amps up, something else is either cut. And so those concerns, Medicaid, SNAP, all of those safety net programs will probably be on the chopping block, especially from what we've heard from congressional leaders in the past.
All right, so the other thing that you mentioned in your column that you're watching for the midterm elections, which will be in November 2018. We got a lot of activity in Arkansas this year with a lot of candidates announcing that they're going to be out there. I think there'll be some competitive races, maybe more than we've seen in recent years. What are you going to be watching for in the midterms? Are you going to be watching this Democratic overperformance that we're seeing nationally in some of these special elections? Are you going to be looking at the Me Too movement and where some of that stuff, how that might impact female voter turnout?
I believe we're watching all of it, because our primary concern is what ends up happening with policies. And so what are the voters' perception of President Trump? We've said in the past, all of us have said in the past, past that politics are local, like everything happens on the local level, but we've seen in recent years where federal issues have just dropped down to the local levels. And so what is happening, even with a potential shutdown or a shutdown of the government, or how our rhetoric is now moving between both political parties, what would that do to the politics here in Arkansas? And if that changes, the State House, those policies change with it. So when we talk about Arkansas Works and even SNAP on the state level, and all of these safety net programs will trickle down to what happens at the State House. And so we're concerned about those policies.
Keep an eye on what happens there. Tamika Edwards, you can read her stuff in the State of the State. Magazine from Top Business and Politics will be out in your mailboxes in the next within the next week, and then we will have it online as well at topbusiness.net. Good to see you.
Good to see you as always. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Yep. All right.
All right. When we come back, former Lieutenant Governor Bill Halter will join us for his latest endeavor. It involves solar energy. You'll find it fascinating. We're back after this.